Welcome back. Mets Hot Stovage presented by Citi. Time now for the portion of the broadcast that we call the Hot Corner. It's a series of questions that neither of our esteemed colleagues have been briefed on before the broadcast. And Jimmy, going to begin with you here, and let's start with Stephen Drew. The chances that he ends up with the Mets.
Well, I think it's a perfect fit, and I've said this before, even during the course of the wintertime, and this was a target of the Mets from the very beginning. I think the problem is the price tag's going to knock them out. I think he's looking for at least 3 years, maybe even 4. Still, even at this point, Scott Boras is going to wait. He's going to be patient. And I really think in the end, he's going to end up in Boston on a 2-year deal.
Andy Martino, when it comes to first base, who is going to be on first for the Mets on opening day?
Well, that's going to be determined by spring training. After all this talk about trading Ike Davis, I really do think that at this point, the way that trade market developed and the fact that Sandy Alderson wasn't just going to give Ike Davis away, sure, they prefer Lucas Duda on paper, but now the two of them are probably going to be in Port St. Lucie, and Ike Davis is going to get that last chance that we didn't think he was going to get to maybe play his way back into the Mets' future.
By the way, Andy, word is from Fox Sports that Mark Reynolds close to signing with the Brewers, so go to keep a very close eye on that. Ken Rosenthal reporting that on this night. What about Daisuke Matsuzaka? Very good at the end of the year last year. Any chance he's back with the Mets, Andy?
Well, there was a false rumor the other day that he'd signed, which came out of a Japanese news organization. So in checking that out, I was told, Gary, that it's still a possibility. They're looking for a guy to compete with those Mejias and Monteros for that fifth starter spot. They like Daisuke. They like the fact that he was committed to improving after a rough start with the Mets last year when he signed. So, yeah, definitely possible that he returns.
When it comes to backup catcher, should the Mets have looked a bit harder this offseason for somebody to back up Travis d'Arnaud, Jimmy?
No, I don't think they need to. I think when you start to look at the options, I mean, Recker, on certain occasions has produced. We know that. You're not expecting much offensively. He better be a guy that the pitchers like throwing to, which they do. And I've seen a lot of Teagarden. Now, Teagarden's had some health issues, but when he's been in the lineup, he has had a knack for a big hit and has had a number of game-winning hits, certainly down the stretch for the Orioles in that postseason run 2 years ago. So I like the way they're set up right now for the backup.
One of the biggest stories in baseball this week, Clayton Kershaw, 7 years, $215 million to sign with the Dodgers as a former general manager. Oh, your tongue's down. Was it a good decision?
Well, I mean, listen, he's 20. He's going to be 26 years old. It's way too much money. But when you start to look at it, everybody in this offseason has been overpaid, at least from what we're used to. So we have to kind of recalculate our brains and see what is normal and what's good. He is the best pitcher in the game. That's the ceiling now. And when you start to look at it, $30 million, it actually sounds like a deal for the Dodgers. So I would say at this point, probably good.
I love your initial reaction, by the way, to that. What about Alex Rodriguez, a guy we've heard a little bit about in recent days? Any chance he plays for the Yankees, Andy, in 2015?
Oh, wow. The Yankees aren't saying anything about this yet, Gary. There's no reason for them to say, yeah, we're done with him, we're going to cut him. It's hard to see. I mean, he really has gone to war with his team in addition to his league and his union and everybody else on the planet. But it's tough to see him being back there in the pinstripes, although I will say we said that once before, and there he was this past August. But he's going to be almost 40 years old. I would lean no on this.
When it comes to a guy by the name of Jordany Valdespin.
Oh, he's fun.
Always trouble following this guy around. He walked away from his Winter League team this year because he was unhappy that he was pinch hit for the other day. So how do you handle a guy like this?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, usually as a GM, it's hard finding talented players. So when you find one like Valdespin, you say, well, here, give it to the manager, let the manager do his job, which is to manage the player as best as he can. But when you start to see the number of different instances that have gone on, and you see how he interacts with his teammates, and the teammates basically want to kill him, you get him out of there. And I think that's what the Mets finally have done. I probably would have gotten rid of him a lot sooner than they did, but in the end, thankfully he's not going to be back.
I would say so. And let's finish this off here on a rather lighthearted note, and let's turn to the Cubs, those lovable Cubs.
Oh boy, I know what this is going to be about.
Did they make a good choice with Clark the Cub as their new mascot, Andy?
Look, I can't get past the no pants. I mean, I'm scandalized by the fact that I'm looking at a bear with a shirt and no pants on. People at home, if I was standing here with a suit jacket and tie and no pants on, you wouldn't feel that was appropriate. So that's how I feel about Clark.
What do you think?
I mean, the eyes look like it's a pained Cub fan right there, doesn't it?
That's true.
I thought it was an innocence, but more Cubs fans feel like it's a painful look. So, I mean, how can you criticize mascots?